giving you $1 million check to go start a business, or how are you gonna go sell something that's high tech, or how are you gonna sell anybody on anything else?
Yeah.
Everything starts in the basics, right? Everything starts in the beginning. And if you can be diplomatic with your family and bring them onto your vision, so be it. But at the same time, the path of success and the path of entrepreneurship and the path of greatness is lonely. And you have to be willing to be alone in the process to getting to the top. And I realized in my life and my main perspective in life wasn't to become successful. My perspective of life has become to pursue truth. And when I told God, hey, I will sacrifice my family, my relationships, even my life for the pursuit of truth, then that commitment and that dedication carried me through any insecurities, any doubt, any loneliness. And eventually all these things played out well.
So you would say that you're still lonely?
No.
Often?
Because I can be alone and not be lonely because I'm with myself.
How do you get to that stage? Because for me,
spend a lot of, when you're in the car, turn off that motherfucking radio. Be in your thoughts. Ask yourself, why is it that you do what you do? Ask yourself, why do you wake up in the morning and do what you do? Why is it that you pursue the goals and the dreams that you pursue? Have these conversations. Be comfortable in your own skin. If you're uncomfortable, ask yourself, why is it that you're experiencing these things? Why is it that you are in a situation where you don't like to be by yourself? Because if you are with yourself, it doesn't mean you have to be lonely. You don't need other people. Because when you're on your deathbed, dude, nobody's going to be there. It's just you, yourself, figuring out, did I live a successful life? Did I do what I say I was going to do? You can't point fingers. You can't say, oh, because this person said this or this person said that. No. You're fully accountable for your life. And when it's all said and done, it's all up to you. So why not live that way?
What do you do concretely with that? Do you meditate? Do you pray?
I spend a lot of time just thinking.
So you have like in your agenda or calendar, which is probably crazy full.
No, it's empty.
You have some, it's empty. You have like some.
So empty, bro. There's like nothing on my calendar because that was like my perspective. Like I just have like my regular calls for the week, which is like my regular calls. But besides that, as the creative in the business, I can't have a schedule.
Absolutely. Okay.
I need to be able to create an environment where I can just free flow. And it's not for everybody, but in my space, it's just like empty schedule and just spend as much time thinking, as much time in my thoughts, and as much time as possible questioning my actions so that I understand why I'm actually doing what I'm doing.
You talked about pursuing truth and thinking basically back to what you've done. You went to college?
No.
Briefly?
Dropped out. Yeah.
Dropped out, right? I want to dive.
I went to multiple universities, tested different things, one quarter here, one quarter there, but it never suited me because the teachers were kind of losers, and I sensed that from the get-go. I'll tell you, bro. I had two teachers. Two teachers convinced me that school was shit. My first one was a communications teacher. Didn't know how to fucking talk. So I was like, how is this person going to teach me communication? And then the second one was at the second university, an international business professor that had never been overseas. So I'm like, how are you going to teach me how to become an international entrepreneur? You're talking about macroeconomics, microeconomics, but are you telling me about culture? Are you telling me about how to interact with Chinese people when I actually go to China and how to broker a deal? You can't learn that unless you're there. So I was like, fuck this. I got to go learn this, actually get in the trenches.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was kind of also the motherfucker I completed the whole like bachelor, but I was always thinking, especially when I did my master's, I did 2 internship, 3 months each in between bachelor and master. I go do my master and I realized that I have more work experience after 6 months of freaking internship than the PhD professor in front. And we had an entrepreneurship class, 14 sessions. And at the very end of this entrepreneurship class, 14 sessions, she's like, hey, anyone has a question? And I'm like, she had done a PhD in entrepreneurship, never built a business. And she was an entrepreneurship professor. And I'm like, do you really believe we can teach entrepreneurship? Like, and same, I always thought, man,
so fucked, bro.
Like, I don't disrespect you, maybe because of my Swiss values, but I'm like, how can you teach me something when you've never freaking done it before?
Yes.
Right? And if you think about it, the education system is completely outdated today, right?
Yes.
And so there is different takes on that. Do you think university is a scam?
Absolutely. Because it's a business, right? The university is a business. So in certain countries, you have public university, but somebody's paying for it. Maybe it's the government, but somebody's paying for it. In the US, university is expensive as fuck. Imagine being in a scenario where I'm a business, right? And I have convinced my entire population, right, that in order to get a job, you have to go through me. Once again, it's the middleman to the workforce. It's the middleman. So now you're like, well, I can't develop skills. I need a degree. And you have all these motherfuckers that have more degrees than a thermostat and have no real experience. So then they go and you hire all these super intelligent dudes, quote unquote, but have no values. They have no self-esteem because they haven't actually accomplished anything. Not only that, they're super inexperienced and they're not even worth having around. They're entitled. They're arrogant.
That's true.
They think that because you took a couple tests in school,
That's true.
that you can, bro, the marketplace will fuck you up, dude.
Actually, because you're being told at university, you are the leaders of tomorrow. You are the leaders of tomorrow. And then you end up with so many people with papers, right? With university papers, that we have this thing called academic inflation, where you've gone through all these studies, you might have taken a loan, and then it's hard to find a job. And if you find a job, the job is going to pay you like shit. No one will give a fuck about you, right? So yeah, it's true. Like, I mean, I would also argue that when you start your first company, especially if you're young, like no one gives a fuck either, right? And it's hard. But
why? And it depends, right? Like you have certain things that are worth learning. But here's the thing, even medicine. Let me talk to you about this medicine shit. Sometimes I would go into these lecture halls. I went to this veterinary school once to kind of have an understanding as to their nutrition, because I was very curious as to who ran the nutrition classes. And I figured out that Purina, right, the dog food company, which is basically poison for animals, they were sponsoring all of the university's food supply in exchange for running their nutrition class. So they're conditioning all the doctors to say, hey, if you're going to sell food to your dog, make sure it's our brand. So they're being brainwashed into, one, feeling like they're sources of authority, two, not realizing that information is tailored and curated by the person that is funding that university, and three, just look at the statistics. There's a reason why the second or third leading cause in the United States of mortality is medical malpractice. It's doctors not knowing what they're doing, and that's not even getting into COVID.
which would probably be like a 3-hour podcast on its own, but linked to the.
Oh, but one second. Going back to the medicine with the veterinary nutrition class that I snuck into, the Purina professor told, there was, I think, about 250 veterinary students, all white jackets, proud of their jobs, recite the following: animals don't need food, they need nutrients, and our food gives them nutrients. And they told them, chant this. So now you have all these highly educated kids being told what is true, what is not true, and once again, the source is controlled by the few. It's so fucked.
Yeah, and like, I mean, we talked about it before, but I got massively fucked by the pharmaceutical industry. And it's basically just, I mean, I was 23, starting to like lose a bit of hair, very entrepreneurial. So problem solution. I'm building my first company. I don't have time for this shit, right? There's this advertisement everywhere about like these pills that you can take that's just going to make you thousands of success stories. Probably works. Like I can trust, it's a pharma industry.
It's proven.
It's a pharma industry. So
the studies are legit.
I mean, actually, it works, right? But you go to these centers, and then you have this woman with white clothes, right? And you're like, 22, I'll trust them. Like they're doctors. And then they sell you these freaking pills, which for me, like completely destroyed me, like completely had like cognitive impairment, visual problem, crazy anxiety, crazy depression. I became suicidal. It was fucking horrible. Like, and I mean, an amazing learning, because then, as I said before, like, how do you get out of that when the entire first industry is kind of like rigged against you, because you're just trying to sell recurring revenue, right?
Bro,
pharmaceutical is just
yes,
that. How
bro.
do I?
It's a business.
How do I hook people forever on pills, whether antidepressant, sleeping pills, hair loss pills,
Birth control.
Absolutely.
Crazy shit with the birth control.
What's your take on birth control?
I mean,
And a woman who would tell you, for example, in Asia, women are very against that. And I always tell them, I completely understand you, because my experience with these pills is the reason I got fucked is because it acts on your hormones, right?
yes.
And so if you think like logically, the birth control is actually acting on your hormones. So like, I would never ask you to take this shit because it can only be bad. I even heard some story where there were women who would get married to someone when they're on the pill, right? And because the pill is acting on their hormones, so they're attracted to a certain type of man. But the day they're off the pill to get kids,
and they lose the
attraction.
It's insane, dude. It's insane.
Yeah.
But hey, your little 13-year-old daughter has acne. Let's put her on birth control to regulate her emotions and regulate her hormones and regulate her mood. And now you put 100 million women in the United States on birth control. And now what happens? It's usually a pill, which means what? 90% plus of it doesn't get digested. It goes to your urine. That estrogen goes into the water. Now you have 100 million women urinating highly estrogenated urine into the water supply, and water is just a recycled commodity. But the treatment plants, they don't treat for estrogen, neither do they treat for testosterone. So now you have all these feminized men drinking this tap water, and you're asking why Alex Jones is realizing that the frogs are gay. And it all comes down to the fact that it's a big chemical warfare through the water and through the monthly recurring revenue of human beings. It's so insane.
You
dude.
tweeted, I laughed a lot, but it makes so much sense. We're drinking bottled water, right? You said tap water is for NPCs. No tap water, no porn, no devil music. Can you elaborate?
I mean, they're the three things that attack your mind, right? So you're going to be attacked your mind through your eyes because it scars your memory. You're going to be attacked through the vibrational frequencies of music, so the messages that are being propagated, and then finally through the chemical warfare that attacks your mind. So calcifying your pineal gland. We can talk about vaccinations crossing the blood-brain barrier and adding heavy metal toxicity to your brain. Everything is designed to impair your ability to think, impair your ability to reason, and impair your ability to develop cognitive thought that actually questions the system. That's why people are just walking around like NPCs. They're walking around by default. They're walking around slow. And then sometimes I don't judge them, you know? It's like, okay, you're just so intoxicated with porn. It's fucking up your brain, frying your brain. You're so intoxicated with tap water and fluoridation. I completely get it. And now you're adding all this demonic, super controlled narrative music that is now conditioning to you fuck bitches, take drugs, and hoe around, because that just happens to be the cool narrative. So no devil music, no porn, and no tap water, to me, are the essentials of living a very good, clean, healthy life.
Do you think there is an actual agenda behind all of that?
Absolutely.
Or do you think that because we live in a world where profits at any cost, companies make decisions without kind of even understanding
it's all
consequences?
All controlled. All controlled. Even look at the example of, for example, you look at these big companies like Pornhub. They were doing like secret like spy interviews with some of the executives. And for example, they would every now and then on the main feed or however these things work, they would add a transgender video just simply to add that in case, you know, people want to test or experience a new thing. So they're controlling even sexuality at that narrative. Water. Well, water and food have always been utilized to control people, whether it's by limiting the water supply or by poisoning the water supply. So if you can dumb people down to control them, Why wouldn't you? And you begin to realize we have all the shootings, we have all the initiations to gangs, we have the murders, we have families that are being broken apart because of people that cheat. Where are they getting their source of information? Who are they archons? Who are their role models? Musicians, celebrities. Celebrities are some of the most useful motherfuckers on the entire planet, but they're being used as puppets for the narrative.
So one of the ways to get out of all of that is one word, would say?
Freedom of thought, bro.
Freedom of thought.
Asking yourself, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Questioning everything, dude. You have to question everything, even if it's uncomfortable. Why am I listening to this music? Why, out of all the songs in the world that I could pick, why am I listening to fuck bitches, fuck hoes? Like, out of everything. If I could drink clean water, why do I choose to drink the tap water that the government is telling me is healthy? So you can look at this commercial of the mayor of New York City drinking tap water. And he's like, New York City has some of the best tap water in the world. And he runs it like an ad or a commercial. I'm like, dude, this is so weird. So fucked. And then you look at the music industry, and a lot of artists and record companies, they actually have contracts with prison complexes, because most prisons are private companies that actually monetize and they have quotas of how many inmates they're supposed to have. So now you're pushing gang music, now you're pushing violent music, and all these things have real world consequences that are just filling up the prison. That's why America's supposed to be the land of the free, but we have 2.5 million people in prison. That's not normal.
One of the things that's really worth questioning, the fiat system.
Crazy.
Obviously, it's a crypto podcast. I mean, very crypto focused. So we have to talk about that. But before talking about crypto, more generally, one of the ways that people who don't like crypto can kind of escape the fiat system is, I mean, not really the fiat system, but at least their 9 to 5 and the rat race is investing, right? And I saw you publicly said you were investing about 10% of your net worth in Meta around October 2022, so near the bottom, basically, which obviously in hindsight is the bottom, but you know, crazy high fear. Every time there is a market crash, or we think, oh, maybe it's 2001 happening all over again, like the mega bubble, everything's going to go down 90%, it's the end of the world. So you did that. Today, the S&P 500 is about near all-time high, NASDAQ not too far.
Meta all-time high.
Meta all-time high. So your call was definitely the right one. And for me, the really interesting fear, important concept for people to understand, and crypto will come into that, but it's the concept of being a contrarian investor, which is the most important concept in investing, right? If you want to make money. Obviously, it's easier said than done. How can someone become a contrarian investor?
Develop your own investing thesis and understanding that investing isn't gambling. So when I bought Meta at $80, $90, $100, I averaged within that price range. I wanted those prices. I knew that it was a fair value for the company. So I said, okay, I'm willing to buy it at this price. It's not because I'm a genius, but I looked at the fact that Meta was at 2016 prices. They're not the company that they were in 2016. So why wouldn't I pick up a fuck ton of Meta stock? I'm looking at MSRT. I'm like, okay, MicroStrategy is absolutely going to skyrocket because this guy is going to buy. We're talking about Michael Saylor. He's all in on Bitcoin. And we know that Bitcoin's going to go to all-time highs. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Yeah. So all you're basically buying is a leveraged play right there. And then you look at Carlos Salinas, who's one of the richest guys from Mexico. And he was asked, where's your liquidity right now?
He said that too.
He said MicroStrategy, and he said Bitcoin. So I said, who am I to oppose this guy's thoughts? That was my thesis for there. And now my next thesis, which is going to play true eventually, is PayPal. PayPal's at a 2017 price point. They generate $1 billion net every single year. One of every 4 e-commerce companies processes through PayPal, and it's still absolutely a behemoth. But it's at 2017, 2016 prices. So why wouldn't I pick it up? The risk-reward ratio just happens to be so much higher. So, you know, in 2023, I only made 11 investments. I only made 11 trades. I don't trade like a savage. I'm not out here on the charts every single day. I want to make few high sizable bets that have long-term plays attached to it. So I don't want to be day trading because everybody knows that day traders lose.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows this. And once again, we talk about the productivity, the lagging indicator. I'm willing to sit on a position 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 years for one very simple factor.
Swing trades.
Yeah, for one very simple factor. I don't need the money.
Yeah.
Right. So when you don't overspend and you don't operate out of a place of greed or operate out of a place of need, you can start making better value-based decisions. And once again, I could have picked any stock, but it was something that I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with Meta. Yeah. I'm familiar with Shopify. Why? Because I come from an e-commerce background. Yeah. So Q4 is rolling around. I know everybody's spending money on Facebook ads. So I know that Q1 reporting about Q4 is going to be absolutely phenomenal. They're going to crush their reports. And they did, because they did every single year prior. So why wouldn't they do it this year? And it happened. Shopify took off. PayPal took off. No, PayPal didn't take off. Shopify took off. Meta took off. Microsoft took off. I made a massive $4 million purchase of Microsoft stock the same day that Microsoft announced a $10 billion investment to OpenAI. I said, well, I can't invest in OpenAI, but $10 billion is a lot of fucking money. So they're not just paying for whatever it is that they're investing in. They're probably investing in infrastructure, teams, scalability, operations. So I was like, this is a very good proxy, right, for me to invest into OpenAI because they technically own it now. And once again, Microsoft passed Apple for a couple days as the most valued company in the world. Yeah. And that V reversal was absolutely savage.
And what's really interesting is it's not rocket science. And we talked about that the other day. I was with Alex Van Evik here for 2 hours, and we talked about, it was more applied to crypto investing, but essentially being a good investor is you rely on a few pretty simple heuristics, which is, hey, we're back to the same price as a few years ago, but probably like they've been doing a lot of work. So they're probably much more advanced. So it's a good opportunity. And then, as you said, if you are experienced or an expert in a certain industry, you obviously, because you spend that much time, gonna have conviction. And once you have the simple heuristic coupled with your conviction, then it makes the whole thing much easier.
Yes.
And that's why for us, for both of us, Bitcoin and crypto is such a no-brainer, right? It's, hey, look, I mean, it was more like a year-ish ago. Like, oh man, it went back below previous all-time high, or like even like, you know, the all-time high of 2017, we were below that.
Crazy.
You're like, what the fuck?
Or like a $900 ETH.
Exactly. You're like, this is crazy. So it's just, yeah, it's basically that. It's some simple heuristics and the conviction. The conviction is the most important thing. And again,
and not just that, but it's understanding that, first of all, you're not always going to catch the bottom and you're not always going to sell the top. And I don't work or invest in order to pay for my bills, right? I invest to multiply my money. I have businesses, I'm making money in the real world that I get to deploy. So if my investment goes down 10%, 20%, 30%, I can stomach the drawdown. I can stomach certain losses just for the simple fact that I don't depend on trading in order to pay the bills. And if you're going to trade out of a place of desperation, you're always going to get fucked.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you said you're doing this sort of swing trade, right? 1, 2, 3 years. In the crypto context, probably is going to be like a year and a half, 2 years swing trade. And that's a really interesting one because you said, I think it was on a podcast I saw, you said, I bought crypto, I made my money, I sold, right? Which sounds so simplistic, but most people in crypto in their first cycle, they make shitload of money and then they round trip everything and they get wrecked, right?
Yeah.
And so you have this like very simplistic, almost cold, rational approach to crypto instead of following the traditional, you know, we're all going to make it, hodl, and then you get fucked. Can you tell us more about your approach, how you approach the crypto cycles to minimize the chances of round tripping all the money you made and get wrecked?
Well, I got round tripped in 2017, right? So right. I did
we'll get there.
I did 160 or 180x. and I lost it all. And at the top, I was out here pulling loans. I went savage, Brett, and I did it the wrong way. And I was like, I'm not doing this again. But crypto is going to come back. So what do I have to do? I just have to have more money in order to deploy it. So I bought Ethereum during the COVID crash. It just made complete sense. I bought Bitcoin during the COVID crash. And then I started playing because I was involved in DeFi summer of 2019. I said, bro, DeFi is going to go crazy, because I was part of the ETH ICO, or the ICOs on the Ethereum chain in 2017, where basically you had the MetaMask and you would have to send ETH to an address and you would get their tokens in return. That was kind of how ICOs worked. So when, smart contracts started rolling out, DeFi started rolling out, I'm like, whoa, I'm going to pay attention to this thing. And then obviously I just happened to be in Clubhouse when CZ was talking about PancakeSwap and the Binance Smart Chain, and how he wanted to compete with Ethereum. And then this motherfucker had beef with the founder of Uniswap. And I'm like, bro, when CZ's got beef with somebody, he's going to try and take them down. And what vehicle was the competition to Uniswap? PancakeSwap. So I just made a very big purchase of PancakeSwap, purchased 1% of the supply, and it worked well.
And so that's really interesting, the strategy, because a lot of people, they think, I can put like $1,000 in crypto and make a 1,000x, or I'll put like 500 or $100 in like 50 different crypto and I'll become rich, right? But this never works. The strategy is more yours, and it was the same with me. You round trip once, then you're like, I need more cash, so I need to build a business or have a job to get this cash, to then, once I have the right conviction and the right timing, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right?
Yes.
I'm going to invest at that moment, and then like I'm going to wait 2 years and make shitload of money. But because I invested a good amount of money, right? It's probably a better solution rather than what most people think, which is, I'm just going to become a millionaire overnight with like a random meme coin. I mean, obviously you can make a lot of money with meme coins, but like there is a few really huge success stories, but there is thousands that are not talked about, which is people who lost everything. Whereas like you can have a more rational approach, which is, hey, how do I have a business generating cash and I reinvest that? It's traditional investing applied to crypto, except it's kind of like on steroids, right?
Yes. And in my view, it's, the first bull run, you get kind of round tripped. The second one, you're following the calls on Twitter, but you're a little bit more clever. And then my third one, which is the one that we're coming into right now, I'm not even going to like looking at the charts, trading view, looking at CoinGecko. I'm not even doing that. Now I'm building, right?
Absolutely.
So so you realize that the upper side and the leverage in reducing your risk is in being involved in the ecosystem. So I went from being a gambler to being somebody that was like, hey, like I can invest in this. I got some money. I'm doing well, to now being like, okay, but the infinite upside is to actually be involved in the ecosystem, be involved with the projects. And I think that that's like the natural progression of a crypto journey.
Absolutely.
And but here's the thing. The thing I love about crypto is that the upside is so good for the amount of effort and work that people put in, because
it's the highest leverage.
It's the leverage is
ever.
Unbelievable, dude. You could be a VA on a Discord server and be absolutely loving your job, making money, getting alpha, getting calls, getting integrated with communities, getting exposed to new projects. The upside is so great when the time is right. Now the time is right. I've been telling people, dude, get in the crypto space, start building, get involved, meet founders, understand the future trends. So a couple of the future trends are the enhancement of the Ethereum virtual machine. So basically building layer ones on top of Ethereum, because now Ethereum's kind of monolithic. It's kind of like your settlement layer. So you have like Monad and different projects that are in that ecosystem. They're absolutely going to skyrocket. I see Monad going to like $30 to $50 billion valuation. It's going to be absolutely nutty prediction, but that'll happen.
What do you think about the project?
It's top tier.
Why?
The founders, bro, they understand what people want in crypto. People want high frequency trading with no fees, with low fees. So they created an ecosystem where they can bundle all of that and then deploy it to your settlement layer. And now, instead of having everybody pay fucking $100 worth of ETH in order to have a transaction go through, now you create an experience that is actually nice. That's why Solana has become so popular.
Absolutely.
It's because it allows high frequency trading. And one of the founders of Solana was very specific. He said, we built this product specifically for people that want to trade, $5 on a specific trade, or $2 or $10. You can't do that on Ethereum. That's why Binance Smart Chain became popular, but Binance Smart Chain is centralized. Now Binance has like this government oversight. So that's kind of dwindling. The BUSD is no longer a thing. So now you have Solana taking over. Solana is absolutely crushing, not only because of Solana, but because they've done really good at building products around it, like the Phantom wallet, which is the best wallet that exists right now. You have Jupiter Exchange, which is kind of like your ability to trade in the best DeFi format possible. So now you see a lot of people that are making crypto relevant to what people actually want. The reason Robinhood was dope was because you could hop in there on your phone and in 10 minutes buy a stock.
Absolutely. User experience, which in crypto is so bad. But
it's getting better.
It's getting better, especially
it's getting super good.
On Solana. You said you had dinner with the founder of Jupiter, right? What do you think of the exchange? Do you think it's going to take over Uniswap? Do you think it's just for other kind of people?
Yeah. Jupiter Exchange is going to absolutely demolish. I was talking with him about his future plans, and I can't go into it, but the vision is beyond just your traditional, hey, I'm going to be out here buying and selling shit coins. The dude wants to introduce foreign exchange remittance. He wants to basically put all tokenized assets on and inside through the Jupiter Exchange. NFTs, DEX, it's going to be a behemoth. Uniswap will not be able to compete. No chance.
There's another project we have to talk about.
Tell me.
You wrote, the e-com kids came into crypto and took over Web3 in 1 year. Stop fading the penguins. Obviously I had Luca on the podcast. I also had James Wu, who is one of the key investors during the bear market in the equity of Pudgy Penguin. We had Alex, who is an advisor, Alex Vanevik, the founder of CEO of Nansen, who is an advisor, mega Pudgy Penguin fan. I'm a big fan. You also said there is no second best. There is no second best. And when you meet the dude, like it's so obvious, right? And also, because most projects are shit, right? There's nothing behind it. So if there's one who is like, hey, let's build something, let's create actual revenue that is not crypto geek related, but it's real world related, it's going to make a massive difference. You and Luca share similar backgrounds also, kind of a difficult childhood, drop shipping, e-com, crypto, and you live in the same place, Miami.
I live in Puerto Rico. He told me he told me to go to Miami, but he was one of the first guys to move to Miami before it was cool. I just decided to go a little bit more south for tax purposes.
Why are you so bullish on Pudgy Penguins?
I mean, I'm an equity shareholder in Pudgy. It was not an investment in the project. It was me betting on Luca. So Luca used to run a lot of e-commerce for a lot of top tier influencers out in LA. And he was, making multiple six figures every single day. And I was able to meet a couple of the influencers that he was interacting with, talk about their e-commerce, and eventually connected with Luca. We had in 2019, we had the DeFi summer. And then I remember in 2020, we were sitting in the Ritz-Carlton, and we didn't know anything about Uniswap, right? So we're out here figuring out DeFi, shit coins, and we've been in the crypto journey since the beginning. It was February of 2021, I believe. My dates kind of get confused at this point. It's been so long. When PancakeSwap first hit $20. That's when I got. Is it my tattoo on this side or is it on the other side? Okay, yeah. So I got the PancakeSwap tattoo. Yeah, those motherfuckers, they blessed me. But we had gotten a house. We'd rented a house in Miami after the Ritz-Carlton. We bought our first NFTs there. And then we created a group chat called Crypto Island with guys from the Cayman Islands and just ballers in crypto. And we started talking about NFTs and shit like that before it kind of became hot. And Luca posted this photo of a pudgy penguin, and he said one thing. He posted it. This is when it just launched. It was 0.1 ETH. He posted and he said, "The Asian community is going to love this." And that was the thesis for him buying it. At that point, the entire crypto NFT bull run took place. Things went up, things went down. And then I get a message one day. I'm in Croatia. I get a message one day and I'm like, and it's Luke. He says, "Let's buy Pudgy." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just put out a tweet, 750 ETH. And I'm like, "Okay, sounds good." I messaged Cole as well through one of my accounts. And long story short, thankfully, through one of the Capital Club members who helped us broker the deal, we got the deal. And Luca just spearheaded the project. So I gave him some cash.
So you bought Pudgy Penguin with him?
Yeah. I think I put in $500,000 out of the 2.5. And because there wasn't a lot of liquidity providers, and we went to a lot of founders of the top projects, and they didn't give a rat's ass about Luca. They didn't bet on this guy. But Luca has a background of taking IP that is undervalued and absolutely blowing it up. So tossed a little bit of coin there, said, "Luca, take it." And he absolutely demolished it. But had the project gone to what I believe it's going to go to, it's a multi-billion-dollar company, or if it would have gone to zero, it didn't really make a difference to me. My bet was with Luca Nets, and I'll continue betting on him as an individual because, like you said, it's not the IP that matters necessarily. It's not just the NFTs. It's not even the community alone. It's the people that are carrying it, right? It's the individuals that are running the project. And when you have somebody that, once again, understands sales and understands marketing and distribution, which are the two keys, you win.
He said the exact same during the podcast. So before, when you said that, you know, if you can have the best project, if you don't understand distribution and marketing and sales, it's not gonna. He said the exact same, right? It was the absolute most important.
In the
and
background,
no one
is
understands
e-com.
that in crypto. Basically, it's like
because like I said, you can have a great product, but if nobody sees it, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah.
So the e-com kid came in and just absolutely took over, and it just made absolute sense.
Where do you think Pudgy is going?
100 ETH.
100 ETH.
Yeah, it's
this cycle.
This cycle. I mean, it's you can no longer value it as an NFT company.
Absolutely agree.
It'll compete with the likes of Hello Kitty. It'll compete with the likes of Mickey Mouse. It'll compete with the likes of the highest IPs in the world.
And you have the premium of crypto on the top, which is like all the speculation part. If you're like, because there's a bull run, there's NFT bull run. So we benefit in the good times from the actual premium, crypto premium, which is pretty amazing. Is there another crypto project or community that you're super bullish on? That's out there today, right? Not something like super private or...
Yeah, I mean, that's out there today. My four bets are very straightforward. Pudgy Penguins, Monad, and Jupiter Exchange. To me, those three are just absolutely leading fire horses. They're just going to trail the path for what it means to build high quality decentralized finance projects, what it's going to be to rebuild on top of Ethereum a good user experience for Monad, and then Pudgy Penguins, like I talked about my predictions for 2024, Pudgy Penguins will not only flip Bored Ape Yacht Club, it'll make the acquisition of Artifact Studios look like a peanut when it's all said and done.
So in crypto, we have these crazy booms and busts, right? And when everything busts. Like 2022 was really bad. And so even for me, I was a big Luna holder. I had like 7 million that turned into $5 in 2 days. And so when something like that happens, and I have some friends, like one who had 250 mil turned into like probably $500. When things like that happen, I mean, obviously you feel fucking stupid and you start to wonder like, hey, like, was it all just luck? All my businesses, all my investing, all that stuff. So you need to kind of feel the pain, right? But there is something that's really important when you're about to kind of like leave or abandon to understand. It's kind of the concept. John Adams said, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. You said every problem is an opportunity, and opportunity is there all the time. Can you give me an inspiring example of a moment in your life where you thought that things were over for you, but then you double down on working your ass off, and later on, in hindsight, realize that in pain and problems lie the biggest opportunities.
I remember when I was poor, in the pocket, not the mind, I went into a Walmart and I had to call my bank because my bank account had overdrafted by $16 in order to buy groceries. And it was the lowest time in my life because I felt ashamed that I couldn't even afford groceries. And at that time, I could have gotten a regular job. At that time, I could have said, fuck this shit, I'm going to quit. I could have said, oh, this is another person's fault. But I looked at that situation and I said, I never want to experience this ever again. And the first thing that I did was buy the book, Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. And I said, I'm going to learn about the markets. And ever since then, it's been an upside. And it was that situation that made me feel disgusted with my current living conditions that instead of complaining, led me to change. And, you know, I would be in the bus. I would take the bus for about an hour to work, and then I would take the train for about another hour. And every single day, just learning the basics of psychology of trading. I don't do technical analysis. I'm purely a value-based investor, and I bet on people, right? So if you look at my investment plays, it's me betting on people, dude. I don't take credit for anything. I don't take credit for any sort of investment that I make. I just bet on winning horses, and sometimes they play off. So I bet on CZ, I bet on Luca, I bet on Mark Zuckerberg, and they don't disappoint.
So in those really hard moments, it's how do you take the pain and turn it into fire in the belly, basically?
You don't have a choice, bro. When you're at the bottom, what do you have to lose? When you have nothing to lose, you have nothing to lose. How much? Like how many? You're gonna live 80 years of your life. How many years of that life are you gonna live broke? I want to experience wealth. I want to experience the good life. Now, I've already experienced this side of reality, the shitty stuff, having to eat ramen noodles, sleeping on couches, sleeping in my car, pressure washing basketball courts, cleaning toilets. I've done this shit. I don't want to do it for the rest of my life. I experienced it. I'm grateful for it. I'm thankful that life gave me the opportunity to learn these things. But it doesn't mean that that's what I want to live for the rest of my life. So it's not, oh, me, poor me, dude. My life has been just blessings on blessings on blessings. I'm glad I wasn't born in some country in the middle of Africa or in the Congo where I have to mine lithium out of the ground, or that I'm getting bombed in the middle of nowhere because of my beliefs, or because the United States decided that they wanted to free my country, right? So just the fact that I have the opportunity to wake up, I'm healthy, it's a blessing. And I think that the fundamental shift is two things. One is a good attitude. Wherever you see productivity, you're going to see a person with a good attitude. And the second one is gratitude. Being super grateful for what I have. When you're grateful, life is going to continue blessing you. When you're ungrateful, when you are selfish, when you are blaming others, when you're negative, pessimistic, life will simply project what you give it. So I wanted to be positive, and I always believed in myself, and it worked out.
And in those moments that are really hard, actually, that's when you kind of, because as you said, you don't have the choice. That's when you're actually the best, like the better version of yourself. Because I'm not sure about the expression in English, but in French we say you basically
say it in French.
Le dos au mur. You have basically your back against the wall, right? Which means you have no other option. And so when you have no other option, because there is no other option, you make it work. And that's why I really encourage my friends who are like, hey, I have this job, but I want to start this company. Just take the leap. Because when you take the leap, you have no other option. Like as long as you keep your job and you have this money coming in, like you have the option, right, of failure. Whereas when you start, it's like, okay, now we always say take the leap and the net will appear. You have to build your plane while you are falling, right? Otherwise, you're going to crash on the floor. And it's really in those moments that the best shit happens. In those moments that you turn these really bad moments and where the opportunity where the problem is an opportunity in disguise. It's exactly that.
And you know, I was talking with the former president, the son of the former president of Singapore, last name Ong, and obviously he comes from wealth. He comes from a family that has been able to really educate him. And he said every problem is an opportunity. And it's how you see the situation that determines the action that you're going to attach to it. Are you going to see a problem and be like, well, I can't change? Or are you going to see it and be like, I can do something about it? Where there's problems, there's profit. And where there's problems, there's business. And if you can identify that, you can make a whole lot of money.
We talk about business, making a lot of money. Obviously, we need to talk about women. Because you have really interesting takes on women. So the first question is, in relation to making money, are women a hindrance for men to become rich?
The wrong woman, yes. The right woman will empower you. She will fuel you, she will inspire you, and she will push you towards becoming a better version of yourself. I've only been with one woman my entire life. I'm still with her. Been over 10 years. She was with me when I had nothing. She would drive me to work. I had no car. So when I started having things, or, you know, I got everything that I wanted and I became somebody, how could I let her go? You know, so she believed in me. She trusted me when I had nothing, and she valued me when I was poor and insignificant. And now that I've achieved some sort of success in some way, shape, or form, it's only fair that I bring her along for the journey. So my perspective is very simple. Find individuals that will empower you. And if you can find a partner that loves you for who you are, but also empowers you to become a better version of yourself, stick close to that person, be loyal, be honest, be kind, be authentic, and keep those people around, because there's not too many people in life that are gonna want the best for you. And if you can't find a good woman, if you can't find a good partner, it's usually a reflection of you, because you attract people. And if you attract poor people, well, it's most likely a condition of you. If you attract hoes, it's most likely a reflection of you. So if you need to, or you can't find somebody of high caliber, of high quality that polishes you, stay away from it. It's funny. I was going back to Meow. He was like, he was asking me today, he's like, should I be dating a ton of girls? I'm like, no, just like find one person that just empowers you and elevates you, and stick true to that individual. Now, it's different philosophies for different people. Anybody can do whatever they want. But for me, it worked out extremely well. And it all comes down, and I'm not married, but it all comes down by one thesis. There's a verse in the Bible that says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. Not he that findeth a woman that has the potential to be a good wife, but he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and finds pleasure, or finds honor in the eyes of God. So you also begin to study wise men throughout history, and most of them were corrupted by women. So I understand how tempting it can be, but I also understand that if you find people that can empower you, it can take you to the top.
So what was your advice to Mew? Because especially in today's world, and that's something that Andrew talks about, which is, as a man, right, the game is very different. As a woman, you can, I wouldn't say as a woman, the dating game is easier. It's much easier to get the guys you want, but then it's not easy to keep them and to see who is full of shit or who is really serious, right? As a man, it's kind of harder, because most of the women, they go for the top, 5% or 10%, 1% men. And so for a man, it's more about how you build kind of respect, right? How do you build your personal brand, and how do you build your life so that women respect you and you attract them, instead of the opposite, having to chase them?
I agree.
Especially if you're building things, you don't have time to date like crazy. It's impossible.
I agree.
Just that 2 time. It's a job in itself. just dating around.
Yeah, I mean, it's imagine you have to entertain 10 women. Like that's a lot of maintenance. It's not. It's like having to entertain 10 multiple different things. It can be for you. Like if you can handle it, so be it. If that's what your cup of tea, that's when you enjoy it, perfect. But for me, it's just not. It's not an ethos that I've operated or that I've enjoyed. And I've talked to Andrew about it. We haven't talked in a while, but I've talked to him about it. I was like, hey, when are you going to settle with one girl? And we chuckled about it. We laughed about it when I was out in Romania. But yeah, he has a different perspective about it. It's totally fair. He's become highly successful with his philosophy of life. So mine just is a little bit different, but to each their own. Yeah.
What should be the priority for a man? Taking care of your family, wife and children, or pursuing your mission at the cost of not seeing the ones you love and care for?
Live a life of balance. Why not both? Why not both? Why not, divide your time into all the things that you enjoy? Why not divide your time and your attention into multiple areas of life that are valuable to you? If, you didn't have a good father, well, you have the opportunity to become a good father. If you had siblings that took care of you and empowered you when you had nothing, bring them along for the journey, right? If your mama's not retired, what the fuck are you doing driving a Lamborghini? So it's all about perspective. There's priorities, and different people have different priorities, but I think that there's a novelty in finding balance and understanding that there's a beauty of sharing success with your family. There's a beauty of seeing your family winning with you. And even though they may not help in the sense of your business, they took care of you for fucking so long. You owe it to them to give them a great life. And yeah, I think you can have both. That's that. And I'm a living testament of it. My parents I pay their salary. My parents work within my organization. They're basically retired. I'm not going to retire them. Oh, just go play bingo all day. They don't want that. They want to be involved in what we do. They want to be involved in the ecosystem. They want to see us develop. So why not take care of them? And I think that there is a beautiful balance in taking care of your friends, taking care of your family, taking care of your loved ones, and still pursuing your dreams and your goals. I don't think that you have to sacrifice one or the other to have the other.
What do you think about the more kind of materialistic side of things? Watches. I mean, I know you like watches, cars, all that stuff. Do you think it's a moment that everyone who kind of like builds wealth has to go through to realize, oh man, Luca was saying the same actually. He was like, oh man, I'm so fucking stupid. I bought this car there. It made no sense. Like, what's your view on that?
It all depends on what you enjoy. I kind of went into the watch game after NFTs because I was like, oh, cool. Like I can start collecting. I got interested in the space. I kind of had some boys that were reselling watches. So I built a $1.25 million watch collection, but I only wear 2 of the watches. So it's like, I'm there sitting and I'm like, was it a little bit of a waste that I have all these watches sitting in the vault? Did I like, okay, it's a good investment. Yeah, that's cool. But do I need these things? And then I have $1 million Pokemon collection. I'm like, okay, like what the fuck am I doing with the Pokemon collection? And then I bought a $4 million house and I'm like, there's people coming into my house every single day. And I have gardeners and I have cleaners and it feels like a hotel. So I sold the house. And then I was like, I want to be light in baggage. I want to be able to move. I want to have that flexibility. So I started getting rid of a lot of my material possessions to simply be able to free up my mental real estate. Because when I had a small fleet of cars, I got rid of them because maintenance, focusing on making sure that they're taken care of. Same thing with the real estate. I think real estate is a great investment vehicle, but I don't want to manage properties. I don't want to have to worry about maintenance. Yeah, other people can do that for sure, but it's just not my cup of tea. I want to be light of baggage. I want to be able to be free flowing. I like to travel the world. I like to stay in hotels. Like I like to be free. And that means that sometimes material possessions hold you down from achieving great things. So I want to stay away from things that I really don't need. Miyamoto Musashi famously said, get rid of things that are of no use. So if something doesn't serve you anymore, and maybe it served you in the past, you don't have to be attached to that thing.
Mm.
And so if he says, and he's a great samurai philosopher, but he says, don't do things that are of no use. And I begin to explore that philosophy, and I begin to only do the things that are useful, and I begin to not realize that my success is attached to materialistic things. They don't determine me. They don't determine my identity. Yeah, I understand the perspective of playing the game. You know, you sit down, you have a $50,000 watch. Somebody may look at you in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never sat across from a billionaire, and I've sat down across 6, and they look at my watch and be like, I want to listen to this guy because of what he's wearing or what he's doing. Most of them, you could see them walking down the street, and you wouldn't even recognize them as billionaires.
Very low key. Absolutely. The most successful people, super low key.
Because they have nothing to prove.
Absolutely.
You know, one of my business partners, we have a crypto fund, and he invested in Bitcoin sub $1, 2011. But he dresses like a bum, you know, and he's my boy, but he has nothing to prove. And you look how he travels, very light, very simple, easygoing. And that just shows a level of confidence that money does buy.
Absolutely.
It's a level of confidence that money actually buys, but you see it exemplified through the simplicity of life. And Leonardo da Vinci famously said, which is one of my favorite quotes of all time, he said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Being able to simplify your life in such an incredible way that it's so easy to live.
I think there is this meme that I saw the other day. It's so funny. It's basically poor, no car. Middle class, average car. Rich, Lambo. Wealthy, no car. Basically, it's exactly that, right? And so you kind of, and the common topic that I have with most people who come on this podcast who made, most of them, they made hundreds of millions or billions. And they're super humble, super chill. And most of them, they went through this kind of like entire loop, right? Or this kind of like life round tripping or happiness round tripping, which is, hey, I thought I needed all that stuff. I'm building towards that. I'm making all this money, just to realize that it's back to like the basic things. And it might sound like a cliche or, oh yeah, the basic things make you happy. But if you can't be happy with a coffee, you're not gonna be happy with a jet, right? So it's just like all these people making the same realization that at the end of the day, yes, obviously you want to have a minimum amount of money, which we talked about before. We all have goals based on our lifestyle and all that stuff, right? But there is a threshold or a certain amount above which doesn't make any difference, and happiness will never come from that.
Yeah, and also understanding that it's not just happiness, but your identity isn't attached to those things. And you know, sometimes I talk about like my crypto losses, you know, but my identity isn't even attached to my crypto losses. It's not attached to my crypto wins. It's not attached to my investment wins or my investment losses, what I have, what I don't have. It's simply, am I pursuing my fullest potential? Am I being authentic with myself? Am I an actual person that is true to my values? And it goes back to what I said in the beginning. When it's all said and done, I'm laying on my deathbed. Can I look at myself individually and say, you did well, you succeeded, you didn't compromise your values? There's a verse that says, what does a man prosper if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Nothing. So I don't want to gain everything and lose myself in the process. And I think that there's a massive virtue in accomplishing that. And that's why I don't attach my identity to my wins, to my losses. I'm just trying to experience life. I'm trying to learn like everybody else. We're all on this planet trying to figure things out. And if we can be authentic, that none of us have it all figured out. We're all just trying to play this game the best we can. Then you can walk with a little bit more graciousness, a little bit more truth, and be light of baggage and focus on pursuing your fullest potential.
Maybe as a good wrap up, what's your biggest fuck up?
In crypto or in life?
I'd say life fuck up.
There's so many.
That's a good answer.
They keep
That's good
flashing.
enough.
They keep flashing. I'm like, I
This
could
one. Oh, no, this one.
I could have bought Bitcoin at a cheaper price. I could have not sold the Bitcoin. I got fucked with this play. But at the end of the day, bro, I'm just happy to be alive. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm grateful to be here, and I look forward to part 2 somewhere around the world.
Thank you so much, man. You're not just an entrepreneur, but you're a role model for many. And our generation obviously needs more role models like you. So from all of them and from our listeners, I'd like to thank you for what you're doing, for putting yourself out there. As you said before, talking truth comes with a lot of criticism and even maybe some threats. And you still do it, right? Without caring about all the threats and criticism that come with it. So
because it's the price, brother. All of them. Aristotle's, Plato, all the greats were once revered as fools. They were burned at the stake. They were laughed at. They were even crucified. And that's the price you have to pay for the exploration of truth. And that's the price you have to pay to unplug people from the bullshit system. And if I got to take a couple arrows for the team, so fucking be it.
Wow. Thank you for reading this tonight, man. It was